Live, local, now. This is WIS News 10.
And good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for waking up with us for Sunrise. It is 4:30. I'm Dondi Mercer-Plank, and we are following breaking news this morning of a deadly shooting in Richland County. This happened just before 2:30 this morning at McCary's Bar and Grill. That's on Bush River Road near I-26 in Columbia. Deputies say 4 people were shot. 1 of them has died. The other 3 have injuries to their upper bodies and were rushed to the hospital. We don't know yet their conditions. Deputies say a search is underway for the suspect who fled the scene. We have a crew on the way and we'll bring you the latest in a live report at 5 a.m. Well, around the same time of that call, Columbia police officials were called to the scene of another shooting. This one happened at 2709 Two Notch Road. Police say it appears no one was injured, but police did find shell casings on the ground. Officials received the call about gunshots being fired around 2:20 this morning. We'll keep you updated when any new information becomes available, so be sure you have your WIS News app downloaded on your smartphone. Well, let's get your early morning started with a look at your forecast. Tim Miller is in the First Alert Weather Center with your Wake Up forecast. Hey, Tim.
Hey, Dondi. Good morning. Welcome to a Thursday, or Friday Eve, as we like to say. Looking outside this morning, it is relatively quiet, and that's a good thing. It's really nice outside, but of course it's warm. And really, from the mountains all the way down to the sea, we're looking fairly nice this morning. Temperatures, again, 77 in Greenville. Notice Hilton Head at 81, so the warmth continues even closer to home here this morning as we're getting ready for school here in just a bit. 77 in Lexington, same in the city, and 75 in Camden this morning, and just a little bit of humidity out there. Well, our forecast for this morning, temperatures will hold in the 70s, but notice by about 8 o'clock, we're already pushing 80 degrees, so it certainly will be a warm day today. But there are some changes headed our way as we have alert days posted for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with the potential of some pretty heavy rain. We'll pinpoint exactly what's headed our way for the weekend, all coming up here in just a bit.
All right, Tim, thanks a lot. Well, WIS has received the copies of the 911 calls placed after a deadly armed robbery at the Waccamaw Bingo Hall in Horry County. We will play those in just a moment, but just do know that they're disturbing. Sumter native 73-year-old Stephen Johnson Sr. and his son, 46-year-old Stephen Johnson Jr. owned the bingo hall. They were shot and killed during a robbery July 26. Now, this morning, we're hearing the emotional calls made to 911 right after that tragic incident.
Hey, please come to the bingo hall on 501 Waccamaw Bingo. Somebody came in and robbed him. They shot him. He's breathing to death. Hurry.
Ma'am, you said the
Waccamaw Bingo. Please hurry. They robbed the bingo hall and shot the man.
2 men, Derek Rivera and Bradford Britton, are behind bars in the case. Both are charged with 2 counts of murder and armed robbery. Deputies in Richland County say a 19-year-old man has been arrested in Atlanta in connection with the shooting off Broad River Road in Columbia. They say Kevin Green III is charged with 2 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. Sheriff Leon Lott says deputies responded to what started as a wreck on Forest View Circle in the Harbison area. Ultimately, deputies found 3 shooting victims, 2 of whom died.
I've stood up here and said this plenty of times that guns, drugs, and gangs was going to end you up in either 1 or 2 places, either in the cemetery or in prison. And that's what we're seeing in this case also. Drugs was involved in this case. Guns were involved in it.
Green is in an Atlanta jail, but will be brought back to Columbia. The murder trial for a Lexington man charged with fatally stabbing a 17-year-old Dutch Fork High School senior in 2014 continued into its 2nd day yesterday. Kieran Dennis is charged with murder in Devon Caper's death. Investigators say it happened at the Lexington Cookout restaurant following a boys' basketball game between Dutch Fork and Lexington high schools. Dennis claimed self-defense, but when tried in 2016, the jury came back deadlocked. Yesterday, the jury heard testimony from the lead investigator on the case, who interviewed Kieran Davis and multiple witnesses following the stabbing. He testified as to when Dennis was leaving the Cookout parking lot in his car. He stopped in the oncoming lane of traffic behind a friend. Soon after, Video shows a group of students surround the driver's side window shortly before prosecutors say Capers was stabbed. The jury also heard testimony from one of Capers' friends who exchanged words with Dennis's group as he was leaving the cookout.
I just looked back because they said something to me, and I kept walking. That was pretty much it until I felt safe myself to say something back to them, because it is, what, 4 of them, and it was just me. So I just kept walking until I felt safe on my own ground to respond back to them.
Prosecutors also offered the jury an example of what Dennis's car door looked like at the time of the stabbing, based on witness statements and Dennis's own testimony from the 2016 trial. Defense attorneys argue it is not an accurate representation of Dennis's car and therefore does not represent the circumstances surrounding the stabbing. Well, to become a teacher in South Carolina, you need to have a college degree and pass a test. But one thing applicants do not need is a spotless background check. Teachers can have prior arrests, even felony convictions, and the state will grant their certification. Hearing that convicted felons can be your child's teacher sounds scary, but that does not mean there are convicted murderers or predators in classrooms. Convictions for violence or crimes against children do disqualify a person from teaching in South Carolina. Every teacher here has to pass a background check before he or she becomes certified or is hired. But when convictions do come up beyond those few things listed in a state statute, there's no hard and fast rule for what disqualifies a person. Samantha Kammerer has more.
In 2002, a Georgetown County School District teacher was convicted of breach of trust with fraudulent intent for taking more than $27,000 from the Ferguson law firm before working for the district. The charge, similar to the embezzlement charge in other states, is a felony when it involves over $2,000. And this teacher received an 8-year suspended sentence that was reduced to 5 years probation. But records from the State Department of Education show the Georgetown County School District nor the state knew about this 2002 conviction until 2004. Once it was discovered, the teacher resigned and voluntarily suspended their license. Teachers in South Carolina can reapply for a certification, and in this case, the certification was able to be reinstated 2 years later. The same educator later received a ticket for selling alcohol to a minor while working as a bartender in 2012. Once again, the state didn't know about this until 7 years later, this year. But even not disclosing it didn't disqualify the teacher from keeping a certificate. A letter sent to the teacher by the State Department of Education says, while your conduct was unprofessional and arguably falls within the realm of just cause for disciplinary action, our review committee has made a determination that no action will be taken against your educator certificate at this time. Even though one of the board's criteria for reviewing certification is, quote, failure to report or attempt to conceal misconduct. While this is only one case, how many other teachers are in classrooms with prior felony convictions? The district does run criminal background checks on teachers, volunteers, bus drivers, and even construction workers.
First of all, if somebody's been convicted of a violent crime, they're done. We're not going to hire them. If they've been charged with a minor offense, or if it's a felony that's not defined as a violent crime, then our policy says that we would look at several factors in making a determination about that.
The severity of the offense, how long ago the crime took place, impact of the offense on children, are all taken into consideration by Georgetown County School District and the state.
Because we're not going to take chances with children's safety. And so we try to be as comprehensive in our background checks as we can. Now, does that say we're 100%? I don't know. So far, we haven't really had an issue with it, but we certainly do our best to make sure that we're never going to put a child at risk.
Walter says he looks at arrest reports daily to check on teachers already employed. He also says the district will look into teachers' charges if they receive complaints or tips.
That's our top priority, is keeping our students and staff safe. And anytime that students and staff don't feel safe, it impacts their ability to teach and learn. So we can't carry out our mission otherwise. So we make those decisions very carefully and very deliberately.
A spokesperson for the State Board of Education said no one with the board was comfortable speaking about the policy. If you ever want to check the certification status of your child's teacher, you can do that on the Board of Education's website. But we do note that it will not tell you if his or her license has ever been revoked or suspended before. Right now, some school districts in South Carolina are working to fill teacher vacancies. The Department of Education says school districts are using alternative programs to train teachers to fill these jobs. One of them is the Program of Alternative Certification for Educators, also known as PACE. It started in 1984 to address a critical teacher shortage. PACE was established for people with non-teaching degrees who do not meet certification requirements to work as a teacher at a public school in a PACE-approved subject area teaching position based on his or her college degree concentrations. Well, the countdown to kickoff is 1 for the USC women's soccer team. The Gamecocks are picked to finish second in the SEC. They open the season tomorrow in a showdown of nationally ranked teams. Next.
The USC women's soccer team opens the season tonight. It'll be a matchup of nationally ranked teams as the number 15 Gamecocks will host number 21 NC State. Kick time is 7 p.m. at Stone Stadium. Carolina is picked to finish second in the SEC. Last season, the Gamecocks reached the second round of the NCAA tournament. USC was young last year with 26 underclassmen. This fall, they have a veteran core of 5 seniors and 9 juniors. Carolina is definitely not tiptoeing into the season.
We definitely want to test ourselves, see where we're at. So does NC State. So it's going to be a great matchup. We're glad to be home. We want to revenge the loss we had at their place last year, so it gives us even a little more motivation.
All the rankings and player rankings and where everything comes, I don't look at it too seriously because sometimes I look at them and I think they're a load of rubbish, if I'm being honest. Like, not necessarily the SEC ones, but the way sometimes rankings come out, I don't know how they get to that point.
USC quarterback Jake Bentley is one of the contenders for a very prestigious honor. The Gamecock senior is one of 30 QBs on the Manning Award watch list. That trophy goes to the nation's top college quarterback. The list of 10 finalists will be announced November 28th. The winner will be revealed the week following the national championship game. While Jake is in the running for the Manning Award, he was overlooked by the SEC media on the preseason All-SEC team. Jake is one of 6 SEC quarterbacks on the Manning list.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, when you look at those things and if you allow those things to have, power over you, it gets to you and you get frustrated with it. But I think for me and our team, we don't really look at that too much. And I think we all know that, what's important is what happens on Saturdays during the season. And that's just kind of what I kind of go back to when that stuff comes out.
Look, we know you're an emotional guy on game day. We've seen that. We've got the video clips. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I would think if, with what you've accomplished, to get slighted like that, I'd have that moment where I'd probably throw a fit in private.
Yeah, not really. I just, because I don't really look at it, you know what I mean? I don't really, spend time worrying about anything that's not important to winning football games. And, whether I was first team or not mentioned, it's not going to, at the end of the day, it's not going to help us to go win football games. So it's really not that important to me.
And Clemson will also start the season with a quarterback on the Manning watch list. Sophomore Trevor Lawrence will lead the Tigers against Georgia Tech 1 week from tonight at Death Valley. Lawrence is coming off a fantastic freshman year. He helped lead the Tigers to a 15-0 record and the national championship. He passed for nearly 3,300 yards and 30 touchdowns with just 4 interceptions. Clemson is ranked number 1 in both the AP and coaches preseason polls. I'm Rick Henry, and that's your morning sports wrap.
4:46 our time on Thursday morning, and looking at current temperature of 77 degrees with a humidity of 79%. We're just shy of 80 this morning as we're waking up for our Thursday. Outside later today, 96 will be the high. However, it'll feel closer to 100 degrees as summer is certainly in full swing. Clear skies really from the mountains to the sea. We're looking great this morning. No fog to worry about, but it is hot for today and tomorrow. But by the weekend, that will be changing as we have a cold front that'll be here, and heavy rain will be likely, I think, on and off throughout the weekend, and about 10+ degrees cooler. This afternoon, it is relatively isolated showers or a thunderstorm. Maybe near the PD. That really would be about all she wrote. Still scattered about, could be a shower, but for the most part, I think we'll be dry for today, and it just will be hot. That will change as we get into tomorrow. Not only is it an alert day, but we'll have our shower and storm chances through the evening. Then we'll continue this into Saturday. Notice the darker greens here, where when everything's said and done, we could get to maybe up to 2 inches of rain. We can certainly use the rain. And there's Sunday, still an alert day with that front of the area with scattered showers and some thunderstorms. Let's look at our 10-day forecast. Well, here it is, 96 today. It's going to be hot, and tomorrow will be hot too until later on in the day when we'll have those showers and storms start to pop. And then notice the cool down, 88 Saturday, 85 on Sunday, and then we'll continue at least a chance of a shower or storm for early part of next week, but it looks like all the big heat will be gone for now, which would certainly be a nice little reprieve. 4:48's the time. We'll take a time out. More of Sunrise in just a moment.
Authorities are taking proactive measures in attempts to prevent mass shootings. As John Lawrence reports, in less than 3 weeks, more than 24 people were taken into custody after violent threats or talking about attacks.
Police in Long Beach, California, stopping a man they say was set on causing violence.
A search of the suspect's residence in the city of Huntington Beach led to the seizure of multiple high-powered firearms, hundreds of rounds of ammunition, as well as tactical gear.
According to the authorities, the suspect was planning a shooting spree at a Marriott hotel where he worked as a cook.
Suspect Montoya had clear plans, intent, and the means to carry out an act of violence that may have resulted in a mass casualty incident.
In Volusia County, Florida, a 15-year-old boy is in juvenile detention after police say he made an online threat to bring a gun to school.
He's under arrest currently for making a threat to cause a mass shooting / act of terrorism.
And police in Tempe, Arizona took a man into custody after they said he threatened to blow up an Army recruiting center. These 3 individuals are among the more than 24 people arrested over threats to commit mass attacks since the fatal shootings that killed 38 people in Dayton and El Paso earlier this month. These cases came after a directive from FBI Director Christopher Wray calling for offices across the nation to update their threat assessment to help prevent attacks. I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The FBI issued a statement earlier this month asking the public to report to law enforcement in person or online any suspicious activity that's observed either way. Well, take a look at this video. These are the massive wildfires burning in the Amazon in Brazil, and officials say they're getting worse. Climate experts are calling the situation dire, saying the very air we breathe is in jeopardy. These fires have been burning for 3 weeks. Officials in Brazil say there have been a staggering number of fires there, almost 73,000 since January, an 83% increase over last year. They say human activity, including burning to clear land for farming, ranching, and mining, could be a reason for the rise in fires.
The impact is devastating because it's destroying unique, irreplaceable ecosystems, and it's worsening climate change at the same time.
The Amazon is the planet's biggest tropical forest, nicknamed the lungs of the earth because it absorbs carbon dioxide, the gas fueling climate change, and releases 20% of the world's oxygen. Well, transforming bystanders into first responders, how first aid training proves to be the difference between living or dying during medical emergencies.
This morning on the third hour of Today, comedian Jim Gaffigan is here.
Plus, part 2 of our Consumer Confidential, a restaurant insider shares how to get the most out of your meal.
And we'll meet the woman behind the colorful fitness movement and find out how she made it. That's this morning on the third hour of Today.
Following the mass shootings in El Paso and Dayton, there is a renewed push to get people trained in first aid, especially in techniques that slow or stop heavy bleeding. Studies show it has the potential to save lives. Sarah Dolph has the story.
Transforming bystanders into first responders. It's a critical need in mass shootings like the one in El Paso, Texas.
The care begins at the site by friends, family members, bystanders, many who have no medical training at all.
Emergency management officials are working to educate everyday people, expanding the Stop the Bleed campaign to all 50 states. Launched after the Sandy Hook Elementary shooting, it trains how to treat hemorrhaging, one of the primary causes of death in trauma care.
We get stories every day of bystanders rendering care and significantly impacting people being able to save limbs, being able to save lives.
Nurse Angela Clarkson runs classes in North Carolina.
5 simple steps, and I tell people if you forget the steps, count your fingers.
Make sure the scene is safe. Call 911, determine the origin of the bleeding, then compress the wound, either packing it and applying pressure.
Pack it until you physically cannot get more into it, then you're going to wad up whatever you have left, and you're going to push down.
Or using a tourniquet.
I want to go between the wound and the heart.
They can be found in bleeding control kits, increasingly found in public places, or improvised using clothing like a scarf.
I'm going to continue to twist until that slows or stops.
Techniques useful, Clarkson says, not just in shootings, but also other emergencies like car and industrial accidents where bleeding is severe and time is of the essence. Sarah Dolph, NBC News.
And Clarkson says it can take as little as 5 minutes for a person to bleed to death. To find a class near you, visit bleedingcontrol.org or stopthebleed.org. These classes are free and take about an hour. Well, the time now is 4:57. Thanks so much for starting your day with News 10 Sunrise. Leland Pender is standing beside me here. He'll be back in just a moment. We'll start the 5 o'clock hour after the break.